because we're generating June's now, based on April, or May, I'm sorry, thank you. Based on April's report, we went from an 81% to 98%.
On 0 to 3 days?
Correct. And then from 15%, we went all the way down to 2%.
Yeah, and then there's
And then the 6
anything
plus,
left.
we were good.
Yeah, good.
So again, Irida, leads a team in respect to that, and has made some process changes that she can kind of go through that really have attributed to the significant improvement in terms of delivery.
The other great things you guys have done, thank you for doing them, is the root cause of these calls. Why are they calling? So if you don't mind talking about the
Yeah, absolutely.
your address, because
So-
that's going to make them feel better that you're identifying, you're vigilant, you're identifying the issues, trying to solve the root causes. So because we're really talking in the parking lot, that kills you to have that many trouble calls. It's costing you guys a lot of money, angst in the community. So I'm so happy that you guys have responded in the way you have. So I thank you for that.
Absolutely. So what we are seeing is a decline in TV trouble calls pertaining to the TiVo devices. I would say it's about a 16% reduction. So based on the last report, we had about 106 that were replaced. Based on the latest report, it was 90. So again, about 16 devices, 16% reduction.
Yeah.
That's total. So it's about 1% of the total TiVos out there. So not a significant number, right? But we are seeing a reduction in terms of the overall replacement or video trouble calls.
But what did you find out about that?
It
I give you
varies.
credit.
It varies in terms of the solution, the situations with the TiVo devices, right? Sometimes it's based on from what my findings are, in some of the TiVo boxes, because of the size, there is a potential overheat situation.
Oh, yeah.
And so I would basically, there is a specific model number that can potentially happen, more so in the Florida market because of what we deal with, not really, the upper states that we cover. But I will tell you that the majority of these have been replaced, being that we've been running at about 121 to 105, 106 these past couple months. So we've seen that number decline, and the reason for that is because we're phasing them through, right?
I remember when we first got into this, some of the techs, I don't know where they came from, there was a plastic sheet to protect the box from getting scratched.
Oh, no.
It was a
then the
plastic
heat.
sheet, and they didn't remove it.
It's called an overheat.
Exactly. And that box will
Melted.
cook. Yeah, it took a while before we tumbled to that.
So that can be one cause, and also if you have it in a very tight, let's say in a cabinet setting,
yeah,
right,
yeah,
with multiple other electronics on top. So for example, if you had surround sound and your receiver is hot as well, so you're combining heat, which will burn out the TV device. So then we have to replace it. So that's a positive sign in terms of those. Obviously, we're cycling through those, and we're seeing the reduction. In terms of any other high-end products and services such as phone and modems, we actually seen a reduction from 37 total phone trouble calls to 20, which is less than 1% of total phone customers. So 20 out of the entire, we're in a good situation there. In terms of the internet, same thing, less than 1% of total customers at a 38 total modem. Now what we still maintain, and I understand this will be the case with technology, we are seeing still a pretty high volume of customer education calls where we're going out there, really there's no issue at all. Sometimes it's a battery remote, sometimes it's an input issue, not understanding the video on demand. I'm reading the notes as we go through these. Record, I had, they wanted to add an additional device, so possibly maybe they purchased a new iPhone and they wanted to learn how to connect it to their modem. So they called a trouble call, a technician came in and assisted them. So typically those wouldn't qualify as a TC, but
Customer education.
right, but they do fall in this report. So we still see a decent amount of those. And so if we would exclude that, we're pretty much within, I would say about the 3% range, which is pretty industry standard in that respect.
Do you see enough of these customer education calls to warrant doing a few classes again?
We're
as you
more than
did
happy.
in the beginning?
That's one of the things that Iraida and I spoke about while we've been looking through these, is one, and then and also just the logistics on how to do it. 'Cause I know in the past, we worked in the main clubhouse
Right.
there, and then obviously just trying to do it by building or by section, because obviously we open it up to the whole 7,800. We wouldn't be able to, so we were just kind of trying to figure out logistics. We were even maybe trying to even narrow it down by building. So do any of the buildings have their own type of, like a clubhouse or
What?
Meeting area, a
like a
meeting room?
meeting room within the buildings? Like if we wanted to try to do it within like buildings versus,
It's tricky.
okay.
I mean, you know, Wellington has a Wellington pool, and there's an overhang there. People have meetings there.
Right there, outside.
That's a little hot in the middle of summer.
Nothing
No.
except a laundry room.
Okay,
That's
so,
narrow.
okay, so really the main clubhouse would be.
We
Bring
could,
your bathing suit and go in the pool.
okay, it
Don't wanna scare
depends,
anybody off.
it depends on how many. We can do a few in here.
Alright, so,
We don't wanna go crazy.
no, so we're looking to look at the logistics, if I have to work with Eva,
Exactly.
to use the party room and reserve it over there.
Well, room C is another choice.
Okay.
Right. Okay.
You have to use the,
There are a
You got
couple
more?
of classrooms on the second floor. I think there's room A, and I'm not sure it's room B. But
Okay,
you know, they're also used for smaller meetings.
okay, I'll speak with Eva, and I don't know, is Melissa still there that?
Yes.
I think she was one that.
you'd have to
coordinated with-
use the party room, and the reason for that is that we've been getting a tremendous number of new owners and renters.
Well, right now, the party room's not available.
Will be soon.
Supposedly.
And
Oh,
and we don't know how much they know about what to do, and maybe they are, maybe they make the bulk of the calls that you're getting. But we know from our statistics that we get from our monthly meetings that more and more units were being sold. And in the month of April, I think they had the most units sold in the history of Century Village in 1 month.
Oh, wow.
So,
So that talks to what we were talking on in the
So-
parking lot. They're having challenges with Comcast, so these people that are moving in don't know that you guys are the provider here. You want to talk about that issue? Because
Sure.
they can help.
So, good afternoon, everyone. I'm representing the tech ops side, and I have Freddie Julian on the installation side. On our last meeting, we did hear your concerns, and we did restructure completely. That's why we are seeing improvements within Century Village. So, servicing our Century Village customers, no more contractors. We got in-house. So I dedicated 5 in-house techs just for that. We even created chats, internal chats with the girls at the store, just in case if there's any possible walk-ins, that we can attend them the same day. So that way customers don't have to wait no more than 48
Getting
hours.
a reasonable number of walk-ins at that store?
No. So,
Do we need to
Uh,
advertise that it's even there?
so if you can, yes, I mean, we got the chat.
Advertised.
Um,
It is advertised.
It is.
The problem,
We have to talk about this a little bit because people do.
the problem is you have no inventory. I went there, I was told to get a new modem. The gentleman who was there said, we don't have them.
But that was I think in March when we were here, I know we spoke about it,
Yeah.
and since then,
yeah,
that
has
has
been
resolved.
taking place.
Myself, and Marielle, who oversees our front
So
counters.
it's now stocked.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
you shouldn't have any problems. The concerns that you guys reached out back in March, we went item by item and we addressed them all. With that being said, also, we are having bi-weekly meetings with our in-house techs to understand, right, what are the needs for our customers here. Where I was talking to Leo, and one of the issues that we're seeing is Comcast taking our drops and then opening the moldings
Yes.
and then connecting to their pedestals. So that's an issue as well, because then the complaint comes to us, hey, outside wiring, when we go investigate, it's not us, it's Comcast taking our job and then connecting it.
Listen, this is a very big deal. And I will tell you, you may or may not be aware of the problems they are having in Boca Raton, where Comcast
Oh, those are horrendous.
punches
Yes.
through the walls, and they are not putting proper grommets in place, and water is coming in, and it's incredible the damage being done down there. I mean, we can't have Comcast in here doing that. They did, their installation, at least in Boca, is really
It's
half-assed.
horrible. I just saw pictures today of it. I mean,
Yeah.
rot up and down.
We need to get a handle.
Now, does the FCC allow Comcast to use your drop?
I don't
They
believe
should have
so.
been able
They
to
should,
use.
they should have their own drops.
Is there any law saying that they
So
can't use
here's the
your?
reality though.
I would have to.
Somebody places an order from here, we really need to do a better job, all of us, in communicating to those buyers. They should be calling this company for services and all that.
Right.
First of all, it already includes video, so they shouldn't be paying Comcast. What happens is somebody calls 1-800 Comcast, they send a contractor out. Honestly, a lot of them do care, but some of them don't. And basically, they got a work order, they're going to do the quickest thing, they're not gonna run any drop. They're gonna use whatever's there, and this is how we have these problems. They'll become, and over a period of time, it's gonna, hopefully, this never happens here, but that's a mess over there.
Leo, we still have a small percentage of residents that are into the Comcast Limited Means program. I forget the name of it. $9.99 a month and,
Yeah.
basic cable, basic.
They wanna
internet.
continue with their
So they're gonna
internet
continue with
versus the internet assist or something that they.
That's what it's
offer.
called, yeah.
So, do you have a question, when you have new move-ins, do they have to come through, like, is there a committee that approves them, or do you get
Yes,
a list of the?
We have 309 separate associations. Each one of them has their own board and they approve. So
Cause I was trying to think of a way that maybe, like a new move-in packet, so to speak, whereas for those that are selling or
Sure.
renting.
we do publish a newcomers booklet that we give out, and we also have a newcomers meeting periodically. If there's something you'd like to formulate, and let's tap onto
Their
that.
phone number.
It's a staple, basically.
Yeah,
It's not a
because we
big
have
deal.
like, in addition to Ira, we also have a resident account associate who does sales. So
Right.
if, I think you may have met him over the years, Robert, but if a new move-in was coming in, they can be directed to call Robert directly.
Right.
He can set them up with the services, go
Why
through
don't you
the,
put together a little packet?
Donald,
Yes.
Yeah,
It's
they can
something
also
big-
use this thing, people read it here.
Well,
I have a
I was
question
just-
for Donald.
I was just about to say, they just gave me something, another job to do. It
Are you
periodically,
looking for more things to do?
periodically, we should be informing new people that this building even exists. I mean, this is one of the biggest gimmies we got out of this contract. So I'm gonna work on something. I'll get it in my report, Dave will get it on the blog, and we'll get it into the
How about-
newspaper.
okay,
How
and I'll
about
touch base.
with an
maybe we'll put that on our
investigation,
calls
can't you
tomorrow.
insert something so
Sure.
that every new
I can
person
certainly,
gets
they tell
that?
me to.
Sure, I'm just asking them to give us, put it together, give us a
Right,
draft.
but it can be inserted in the
Very simple.
investigation, so
Sure.
you know it gets to the right
What
person.
about is your community channel up and running and all
Yeah,
that?
we should get it up on that too.
There's
Can
three
you
of them.
provide some, 3 channels now?
There's three
Wow.
community channels.
So
Thank
we
you
can do
very
that.
much.
Right, but
Ira, I
how
got a
many
question
people
for
watch
you.
it?
That call that came in today from Mr. Qualls, was that an issue with Comcast, or was it, because I was hearing free swinging
Yeah,
cables.
it just, I just spoke to him, just before the meeting, I just saw
Okay.
it come in, so it's new.
All right,
Yeah.
I haven't been over there myself, that's the
Yeah,
reason.
yeah. Yeah, I
Generally,
spoke
if
with
it's an orange cable, that's usually,
Yeah.
That's usually Comcast, that's correct. And I have a picture so we can reference the meeting.
It's orange because it's supposed to be temporary.
Right.
Yeah.
However, I would venture to guess if I drove around this community, I'm gonna say.
No, I find them all the time.
Right, which is something else that I'll be the bad guy, reach out to Comcast. These guys know that I can be the bad guy. And I'll reach out to them with your letterhead, you guys can, send a letter reminding them, and pictures like that.
Yeah.
Say you gotta fix this, it's
So
not
when
acceptable.
we verify, the
Um,
card is off place. and-
Hopefully, in analyzing the trouble calls, if there was some systemic problem in the original installation or rollout, that might show up. I'm not really hearing that's the case.
I don't believe
No,
we're
I-
finding anything with the initial install. I think it's mostly either over time, the equipment that
Yeah.
we've identified, a lot of customer ed, a lot of people also getting new equipment, new TVs, so they call us to help them reconnect it. Maybe they need a refresher on how to set up their recordings.
There's also simple resets that need to be, take place. Maybe they haven't, they're just came from up north and they're looking,
yeah.
to get their services turned on and their modem's not working. Typically what you would do, unplug and replug, just allow the reset to take place. Unfortunately, they would just prefer to have the technician come out and perform that reset for them,
Yeah.
and then we get it up and running. I think the fact that we do, and I'm great, it's very positive that you could assist us with that, is getting the word out that we do have the store available
Yeah.
to them, that they could come by, and that we do have the flexibility at times to go ahead and have same-day delivery, and that we do have techs available through
Yeah,
chat
you
from the store.
originally, that back room was loaded with equipment.
We can
I was
probably-
very surprised to hear Ed went over and there's no stock at all.
No, it was, it happened a few months ago, like I said, when we were here in March, and I think just the
Yeah.
reason was being that we were still sort of remote, we just didn't have the manpower to actually load up, a vehicle, but that has now since changed.
Has there been any existing wiring problems
No,
What do you mean, within a building?
within within a building?
no.
So you never had to
That's-
replace anybody's wiring?
No, there's nothing, well, I would have to
originally.
dig, yeah, I mean, as of, for the past April report, I did not see any. To be honest with you, there was, 400, so I didn't go through every single note that was in there.
I mean, I've had some people say that they've had a tech come out, and the tech said the reason why you're having so much problems is the wiring isn't up to
Well,
snuff.
that may vary if there's noise backfeeding. And when we usually identify those type of situations, we usually refer them, and then the install manager is already getting a contractor for the next day.
That's a very good point. Some people have wiring in there that goes all the way back to the 75-foot master antenna. And it is old.
Mine says Adelphia on it. My unit has Adelphia on the,
Yeah.
it works fine.
Yes, Doc.
Another layer of information, when should we talk about the ACP that's being put in?
We can talk,
The
about
what?
it right now.
The federal program that just started up, the
Yeah.
affordability connectivity program for anyone under $30,000. I don't know what the
So
income.
there's several criteria.
Yes.
We're very much involved in it. We do a lot of affordable housing across the
Yeah.
country. And the program is, the fault with the program right now, if we're involved in getting changes, each of us has to call and basically register. And I'm like, if these
I
people
know.
meet the criteria, we're gonna do the opposite.
I
We're
know.
going to pre-approve you on your behalf, so
Only the
we can
government
work.
can pre-approve, then the person comes to
So that,
you.
see, like I said, we're very involved in affordable housing nationwide. That happened with rent assistance. It was the individual tenant that had to call to get the money. And the landlord was sitting there, oh, I don't know who to call, I don't know what to do.
That's
So
exactly
we are in the
what I-
process.
That's exactly what I emailed Melissa about.
Yeah, so you and I should talk because I'm very much up to date. And it is guaranteed for 5 years. So this problem with Comcast goes away because instead of paying $9.99, they're gonna get paid. So we're gonna qualify them to make sure
Yeah.
that they can take the order.
And then, but one thing that we do want to point out, I know we talked about it, is, that rate is the $29.99 for the 100 meg internet, includes the modem, it doesn't have any of the internet recovery fees, so it's a $29.99 rate. But for those that take the $21.99 plus the $8 modem,
It's
the
the same.
TiVo internet, dedicated package that you have here, you basically can't double dip. So if
No.
somebody subscribes to that internet level and pays $29.99 and they want to then add TiVo, they're gonna have to add TiVo on top of that at retail. So
So the maximum is
the
$30. So
the
if somebody
oldest-
buys more product and service from you,
so it's just
They
one
have to pay
thing
the
that
difference.
we want to make sure that we clarify because we have that
Yeah, that's what I wrote.
$21.99
I think I
package.
wrote in the email.
All right,
The
all
only
these,
thing that a person in Century Village is saving is the high-speed network recovery fee if they
$9.
get enrolled in the ACP. they'll still have, as you said, the no charge if they need someone to come and help them.
Yes.
But what I don't know, Leo, or anyone, any other communities, what are the demographics? Are we gonna get 100 people showing up at the store saying, I wanna get in, how do I get into this program? Or are we gonna have 10 people in all of Century Village? That's what I'm trying to
It needs to be
preempt,
very
to figure out.
It all
organized and
has, yeah,
coordinated.
it would have to be
Yeah.
organized accordingly, we'd have to see what services,
What happens.
you know, obviously, we
Alright.
want people to take
Would
advantage
this
of the
be-
TiVo.
Best effected by bulk mailing.
We'll get the
Well,
word out and see.
Well, the thing is,
Sure, I mean.
you know, you wanna make sure, I mean, obviously, residents have the right, you know, based on the SDP, they can take advantage of any discounted or retail rates that we have.
Oh, so this is not income linked?
Yes,
So there's several
No,
criteria.
It's income
If
linked,
you
so
have,
it's all,
there's a whole bunch of
the-
other
they are.
yes.
veterans, certain federal programs, if you're a
Yes.
recipient. All that info needs to be gotten out to the community.
Medicaid,
This is like the cable version of LIHEAP,
Yes.
you know?
So, so whatever it is that, that article that you put together,
Yeah,
we did review it
okay.
with legal, it got approved. Just you
Yeah,
have
it
to make
was.
sure that we include that disclaimer that I provided,
That they can't double up.
that,
Yeah, yeah,
A better
okay.
comparison would be the Lifeline program.
I'll check.
Yeah.
That's the email I sent to
It'd be
Ruth.
very nice to know about this in simple
yeah.
bullets. I mean, until this
It's
very
very
minute,
new.
I never heard of
We
it.
had another
Oh.
program from the FCC, it was called the EBB. It's only the federal government can come up with acronyms.
Yeah.
So the EBB was through the FCC, Federal Communications Commission, and that wasn't set as a term of years, it was as long as the declaration of pandemic we've had. But this is a set program, now administered by two other federal agencies. One is, I believe, is Department of Commerce, the TIA within Department of Commerce. They have to come up with rules. They were just issued, a couple weeks ago. A lot of these things are new. But it is set for 5 years, so you qualify and you're getting 5 years of internet up to $30. So if it's $31, you gotta pay it $1 or to the company or whatever.
100 megabyte?
yeah.
I think
It's
it
different
also,
companies use, it needs to be a minimum of 30, but most companies are doing 100
Yeah,
anyway,
100.
especially these guys.
am I correct in saying that the ACP also includes a $100 voucher towards a person buying, I believe?
So
buying
that's the other part of
That
it.
I'm not sure.
That's the other part of it. That part is administered with the SEC, believe it or not.
Yeah,
So yes, you can have up to $100 for devices and all that. There's also grants that we can apply for, we're doing for our other clients, to basically be able to have classes to teach people how to use the equipment, anything to do with broadband usage and all that. So I'll be happy to come back with and deal with that one topic. I will run it past it because not every company's doing the same thing. I would tell you that Comcast is promoting it, the $30, and people are confused. At times they're trying to sell phone service on top of that, so people are confused over that.
All right,
So there's
Give
a
it
lot of, I'd rather not blow it out to the community.
yeah. 'cause
Let's
it's
come up
gonna
with a
be-
plan. You
Yeah.
have a lot of people here that are going to qualify, no doubt in my mind.
yeah.
So let's get them up to speed and get them with
All right.
Comcast.
We'll give it all to Melissa and Ira, you handle everything. I'll do that.
Melissa,
Yeah.
if somebody qualified for that program and they wanted to add a telephone, they couldn't get it under the special discount package?
For phone, yes, they could get the $24.99 rate,
Get
or
that,
actually, or our retail rate, 'cause right now our retail rate per phone is $19.99. So it's really
So the retail rate is less than
the SCP.
discount rate?
Mhm. But the retail rate is subject to rate increases, so it's already in.
But the money needs to be for broadband though, right? So
Yeah.
you can spend more money, but the government's only reimbursing $30.
Strictly for internet.
Isn't the phone, doesn't it ride on the broadband
Yes.
bandwidth? Sure it
So
does.
what some companies are doing, I'm not sure what they're doing, they can tell us, is that they're coming up with special pricing, basically $49.99, so you're buying phone for $19.99. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure what, if anything, you guys are using. We
Not
can
yet.
talk about it later. But so it's complicated. Anytime you have a government involved.
Yeah.
All right.
We had
We'll follow up on
resources,
that.
we had resources specifically dedicated to that east,
I
the
need to
clear
talk
port.
to those people, so please put me in touch with them. Beautiful.
You got anything? Ted?
No, just to piggyback off of Ida, like you mentioned, well, you guys questioned the wiring issues. Any wiring issues that we come across, we try to take care of between that 0 to 3 day period. We have our in-house guys, like she mentioned, running our trouble calls right now. So if they're able to replace that line right then and there, they replace the line. If not, they push it over to my direction, and we get it done in the next 2 days or so.
Yeah.
So, and it hasn't been that many. so
Is there a
far.
cost to that?
No, for the outside lines, no. It's only a cost if a customer is asking for some sort of custom wiring or something like that. Yeah, on the inside. So yeah, on the outside, no, there's no charge.
Any inside wiring is replaced, but it's run post-fire.
Exactly.
So if somebody had renovated and they want something,
Can you email us the pictures that you have, and we will be writing, we have to copy that saying, you got it, address this.
Of course.
Yeah.
So based on the data that was provided to us in our last meeting back in March, we went ahead and implemented numerous process changes to go ahead and ensure that all these issues would be rectified. And the data is showing that it's working, that everything that, we've made, in terms of the changes, or in terms of the equipment, the store is fully stocked. The fact that we now have the ability, communication between the store and technicians to get resolution within a timely manner is taking into effect. I think one of the things that we have to work together on is just more the communication to the store is there so they can utilize that resource.
Well, again,
We can help with that.
I would
Yeah.
start putting articles. I made at one point several months ago, I suggested you guys have your own column, basically. You have to do with whatever it is you want to tell them. That.
You had an ad, but you pulled it for a few months now. They're not coming back until September. I don't know why.
Yeah, but we can
You're
put
not
we
in
can put
June,
informational
you're not
stuff
in
in.
July. I don't know whether you were in May. I don't remember back that far. But they told our West Coast ad person they were not doing it for a number of months. They'll be back in September.
Maybe
Listen,
it's just, maybe it's because obviously the demographic here, you guys, there's quite a, I don't know if that's
It's
still
the
the
seasonal
case,
aspect?
the seasonal aspect.
It's the case every year, but I don't think they pulled out last year. I don't remember.
Okay, we'll bring
We'll-
that
we'll
up on
bring
our
it up
marketing
tomorrow.
I
call.
think Leo had a very good idea. I can visualize a column, cable corner or something like that.
If somebody wants to write it.
That would be neat.
John was-
That sounds like a Melissa job.
We will have an open discussion with marketing. That's a great takeaway, and we're more than happy to take a look at it.
Who's the one that can put 3 words together and make a sentence?
Not me, no, just
What was the
kidding.
column? Just ask.
So,
There's a lot of interest in this, don't there?
No, we'll pass that on to
Just
marketing.
John's column? No. No, we'll go ahead and take this back with marketing. They're the ones that are obviously deeply involved in that aspect. And we'll be more than happy to
And you get it
follow
with
more
a
information.
photo too.
Oh.
And
so take
Dear Adam.
advantage of this. Your marketing people should be aware of this. Buy the ads. Maybe their fiscal year starts in September. I don't know why they don't have budget for it now.
They have a nice ad, nice full-page color ad.
So, but also the 3 channels. People must be watching the 3 community channels. No, they're not.
no, we're using them.
Kids.
We're using them,
Right.
Yeah,
but,
they're available, I don't know who watches it.
well, yeah.
It doesn't cost them anything. They can just put, some kind of ads or pictures of the office here.
Whatever, sure.
Yeah, any of that. So
We'd be
they
glad to
have
do that.
resources to help
You need
you.
an incentive for somebody to watch those channels.
All you gotta do
Maybe
is
a
put the
giveaway or
sports
something.
channel on
Ah,
it. You
like
missed the
we used to
Ranger
put in
game
the
this
paper.
weekend.
you put a 5-digit number in.
Who
and-
cares about the Rangers?
If you
Oh,
found
okay.
it, you got,
Tampa Bay, like,
I don't know, we gave away something.
I don't even know how they did that this weekend.
So they lost last
they're up
night.
2-1, right?
They won?
Rangers lost last night.
They lost. I know
Um,
someone who's ready to kill himself.
please take note, I know we mentioned it briefly.
Yes.
I'm watching with great interest, pictures from Boca Raton that would curl your hair. This is about installation. something Comcast is doing, or not doing, I suspect, is allowing water to get into the building. And I mean, there are pictures,
I saw it today.
huge chunks of
But that was done over the years, so
Huh?
we're vigilant.
Exactly.
These guys, basically,
Dave, you need to
we
tell
get
them
them out of
to
here,
call Breezeline,
they
get
need to be
them
buying from
connected.
them.
No, I'm just saying, don't get into trouble. Now, we forgot Ira, didn't we? What would you like to regale us with?
Yes,
I'm a Breezeline.
it's the IRA.
Well, I'm the focal point for residents that have escalations and they contact me.
As
You know, I,
So you should be playing a lot of golf now, because he's got a great job that there's no
they know
escalation anymore.
I do my best to be pretty responsive to everybody's needs.
And what seriously, what's
But
the
you should have
feedback?
seen things come down, I mean, you're not getting like the people looking for earlier appointments.
No,
that type of
no,
stuff.
since a lot of the process improvements have been in place, I'm not hearing the issues that I would get escalated to me about appointments and people have been waiting and maybe somebody, it's not fair, we have to wait a week, none of that stuff is going on right now. It's been really curtailed quite a
Great.
bit. So that's all
Good job.
a good news story.
All right,
Have you had any issues with people calling up with their high definition box, the TiVo box, where they're watching a program and all of a sudden the screen says there is no,
video unavailable.
something like that, you don't see anything,
Well,
and you would switch the channel and then there would be a program. And then you would go back to the original channel where you see this, and it either shows up again, that is the designation saying no internet or no
Video.
programming, and then a couple of minutes later would come back on, and maybe 5 or 10 minutes down the line, bingo, it comes back in again. Now,
well,
I've had that
yeah.
happen, and I switch the channel, another channel works, I go back to the original one, and it's blank, and maybe 15 minutes later, it will play for 45 minutes, and then bingo, the channel again blanks out.
Is it one particular channel that's occurring?
It's a couple of 3 channels here and there. I pull the plug, the electric plug, and then put it back in to let the whole thing reset itself. And sometimes it works and sometimes it does not. But what's interesting is this box is in the bedroom,
Okay.
but the box in the living room, I don't have that.
So it's
So
working.
it's just that one particular box.
Let me get your information, because we have available techs that can take a look at it. And that way we can troubleshoot properly and identify maybe it's an outlet that's causing the problem.
It'd be as simple as an HDMI cord as well.
Yes.
Because I was going to yank the box out and bring it in and have them check it out.
No, let me get your information after
It's better
today's
to be
meeting,
done in your
and then
own.
I'll send someone over.
Yes.
Okay.
Having done some analysis on this years ago, it depends where the sun is in relationship to the antenna. That can cause a problem. And most critical are thunderstorms in the path between their satellite downlink and their head end. And this will invariably cause either pixelation or total dropout of the channel. Now, I'm not experiencing to the extent you are, but I do have it. Video unavailable, but it's over in 3 seconds. And the program comes back. So I don't get overly excited about it. But, I mean, if we have to, we can collect statistics. I suspect this happens all over the village. Ken?
Is that more prevalent in a DTA box as opposed to a TiVo box, or it doesn't matter?
What's the question, sorry?
Video unavailable, is
Okay.
it more prevalent in a DTA box or a TiVo box?
Well, I'm not seeing that in a DTA box. It could be more of a TiVo platform.
Yeah,
But
It's just
like I
free,
mentioned,
it's-
it would
it's an
be,
IP
I would
free.
have to send a technician so they can
Yeah.
troubleshoot and determine what's the root cause.
Yeah, we gotta get a tech in there to see signal levels, because it can happen on either box. Especially if
You
there's
don't
some sort
need
of
to-
signal issue hitting those boxes. So we have to get a tech inside there to take a look at it to see what's
Now,
happening.
my research indicates that these TiVo boxes have a back channel. There's a back channel along the cable, internet-based, anybody, I mean, if there was some systemic problem, that would be the place to find it. If all the boxes in this village are spitting back error messages of some sort, I don't even know if you guys look at that. You know, that's gonna be somewhere
People
deep,
you can.
deep in the bowels of the engineering staff.
Well, we would see a significant influx of calls in terms of trouble call reports if that was a system-wide issue.
Well,
Right? I mean, even if it's 2 to 3 minutes, that would generate a call from most
that's a
people.
lot, yeah.
So we would see an influx of trouble calls in relating specifically to that aspect, and we're not seeing that. Like I said, right now, what we're seeing is more of a decline. However, technology, there's just so many different components to the delivery. It could be as simple as, like Freddie mentioned, an HDMI bad cable. I know that even the HDMI cable could impact your sound. So
Sure.
again, there's just so many different components to it. It's best to have a technician go in there and review the equipment that you have. In some cases, they may go there, just replace the unit, the cabling, maybe it's a splitter, but we'll rectify the issue. At the end of the day, that's what we want to do, is just,
There's hundreds of them up in the attics, you know, rusting.
Yeah, if you have your TiVo box right next to your gateway, is it to any advantage to hook an Ethernet cable from?
No.
No?
no, I mean, you can connect it, you could, but I mean, realistically speaking, in most instances, I would call it the brains, the main TiVo box, as long as it's connected through a coaxial cable that ties into the MoCA gateway anyways, so they're all connected one or the other. So you don't necessarily need to have that connected, hardlined.
All right, Ed's next, he's been waiting a while.
I have basically two inquiries. If I recall, there were certain channels that were dropped that everybody wanted. I think Stars was one. I don't remember the other.
Newsmax.
MLB and Newsmax.
Have they been replaced? Because I don't think we've gotten credit for the reduction of the lineup.
There's supposed to be, as I recall, the wording in the contract, correct me if I'm wrong, with something of similar or equal value.
If it's available, which there is nothing that we have in terms of a
So
new
Newsmax did a
replacement.
very horrible thing. They did not charge these guys or any programmer before. And all of a sudden, overnight, they said, here you go, if you want the channel, it's gonna be like $9 or something crazy like that.
Intolerant.
So almost everybody subscribed to them, including, I believe, DirecTV and certainly Comcast, AT&T and all that. And I'm not sure how many, by the way, we can go look at their office right here in Palm Beach and tell them, why did you do that? So it's gonna be tough to replace that channel because it's kind of a unique
Well, I think
channel.
you're gonna have to talk to someone pretty high up the chain.
I think as of right now,
Over here in Palm Beach, no, I'd go over there, knock on his door and slap him around and say, what are you doing?
It was
Well,
available for
the-
free
the answer-
online, so they can go to.
Oh, that's right, it's still available
Is
for
it
free
still free
online.
online? So you, if
So, you
somebody.
know, there's no rationale for them to have done that.
well, the understanding is that it's gonna be a paid service by the beginning of the new year.
Yeah,
So
well,
that's,
great, then
Online also?
Well,
you're gonna get a lot less advertiser because, you know.
I have sort of a solution. If you can't replace it and it costs X amount, I think we're entitled to a reduction.
But
I mean, we're paying for something we didn't get.
I don't think they're saying you can't replace it. They just haven't.
They want to replace it at a price that's economical, but in the meantime,
it didn't cost anything at first, so they gotta
Right.
replace it with something for free.
well, I imagine that nothing in the world is free except here lately, and that's not that good. But the answer is, they had to have a cost, because I believe they said it got too costly. That's
They went
Well,
from zero to a
right.
lot of money.
Well, that's good.
So most, it wasn't just this company,
They probably don't need
most companies run.
the business. And the other question I have was the remuneration to the unit owner for lack of service. If I recall, it was 24 hours if you're out and you're entitled to a credit.
Who has reported such outages?
Well, I don't know if our residents know that. And I think when we talked about back channel that you mentioned before, David,
There's a low data rate back channel off that TiVo, not the DTAs.
And I think what was said is, we have no way of knowing. And I said, I was out for 2 weeks, I want a credit. If you don't have a way of checking,
You were out?
this is
Example.
an example.
Oh,
Well, in that,
But
in
it-
that hypothetical, if there was a customer that was out of service for 2 weeks, and they called in customer service, they would, and asked for a credit, they would issue a credit for the 2
But
weeks
of
of
course,
service.
they would verify it from their
They'd be
data.
able to see it right there. that,
I understand,
you know,
they're not sitting there waiting for it to happen, but if you call and you've been out, they can tell. They can look at the talkback from your box.
And
I
then we
don't
would
know whether
also,
it
well, then we
matters.
would roll a truck to get the service repaired, so we would have
Well, I think
the
that
service
should
call.
go out to the unit owners. I could tell you this, I experienced a change in the modem. I didn't look. The change came, I don't know what you call, I had this nice big modem, they put it in that little black box. I didn't notice it, and then it went for 2 months or so. And then I happened to look at it, and I said, what is this? So I called up, and someone came and replaced it. So I said, I'm paying for this and I'm getting for that, wouldn't I be entitled for a
But-
credit?
You weren't
What is
getting the
it?
same service out of that little box?
I don't think
No
so,
way.
because I
Why
had,
didn't you know?
excuse me,
And are you paying for it, or is it what's part of the bulk?
that's part of bulk, and I'm paying for it. We
Yes.
don't get that for nothing.
But it sounds like your modem was replaced with the DTA box, which doesn't make sense.
No.
Well, they did, and you could check my department if you.
We're more than happy to check in your account, sir.
Hmm?
We're more than happy to take a look. If you would share that information with Ira, we'll be more than happy to
Of
investigate.
course.
I feel good just for me, but you got a multiple here of 7,800.
We're more than happy to
And
investigate.
nothing is gonna be perfect. We're publishing in the paper X, I think that should be mentioned, that if you're out for 24 hours, the more you have to call.
Well,
Sure, that's part of the
But
communication
they,
outreach.
and they, yeah, and they would have
Absolutely.
called to report that their service is out, or,
They can do that, absolutely.
I don't think that this fact was ever hidden. This was very widely publicized. I know for a fact we've given out at least 2,000 copies of the contract. And we will continue if people come in who want copies of the contract.
Maybe you just put that bulleted items from the contract. People don't want to read a whole contract.
Of course, of course. Yes, Doc.
Speaking about reading from the contract about replacement, they are correct. It says the company has the right to preempt specific programs and to determine what substitute programming, if any, shall be made available.
All the providers do, all the
Yeah.
providers.
I'm just making it clear that if they drop, we're not entitled, it's up to them. Secondly, and then there's a thirdly, when you get calls, do you plot them geographically? Like if it's Mr. Richmond had problems, if other people in that building have problems, it could be something that is not systemic but building-wide. Do you keep
Yeah.
track of where the calls come from?
Well, I think if it comes within a specific time period, understanding that the technicians here, you know, it's the same set of individuals, right? And if they're understanding that it's coming from the same location, then yes, they'll be taking a look at more of a higher level of what needs to be
Right.
taken care of. So that, absolutely.
So
And
they
that will
also
make it
have
much
on
significantly more
UBC too.
manageable.
You guys see it far better than me, but they're basically going to an outlet and figure out, you know, what readings you have on that outlet. And then if they see something that goes back, it gets turned over to another technician.
So every
You wanna
home is
talk about that?
certified.
Yeah.
Every home is certified by our technicians, where they have to assure that we have passing levels and all levels within the home are good.
Yes.
If there's a failed home help, let's say that there's issues coming from the outside, that will reflect in our meters, in our certification process. And then we have a maintenance tech that is dedicated just for CenturyLink. So that's taken care of within same day or next day.
So the
So
fact
that's
they
not an
find
issue.
it, they find, you know, that this is a problem where they go to.
Yeah, but
code
also
or-
as well, I always look at reports and verify if I do have anything out of the norm coming from a particular building, then I would dispatch my maintenance tech to quickly verify, so that's not a problem. But I haven't seen anything major within any property
We also
within
have
Central
our
Village.
eyeglass monitoring system, which if we do see a particular node or area that's having some issues signal-wise, it's declared an outage. So maintenance tech will be dispatched to that node or area.
So they have a lot of things in place that basically accomplishes what you're saying.
My third one is for, do you know how many residents have received credit for service delayed more than 24 hours? Does Breezeline keep track of that? I realize you have very few calls now, and that's great. Does anyone, if you don't, I would suggest you just keep track.
I'm
I
sure
was-
I'm sure somebody on our finance team,
I mean,
about
realis-
credits, but not for,
Yeah, I was the one that brought up the contract reading about you're entitled to a credit if it's not solved within 24 hours. And at that time, back in March, I asked, why is the burden, as you said, to call in on the residents of this community, many of whom find it very difficult to make these connections? And then the contract said that they're supposed to bring the issue to the store, to the or our military. I mean, many of these people. All I'm saying is, I think that Breezeline should be able to set it up automatically. And you need more definitions. I know that. As opposed, the technician could come and he can't solve it that day. It's a big issue. That doesn't entitle the owner to credit for it. And then another question is, all the contract says is on his bill. Well, suppose he has all three services and one of them is the problem. Does he get the daily credit for all three?
He does. Yeah, again, if you're an outage, you're talking, an outage is a complete loss of services.
Okay.
So in that respect, yes, they would get the credit for all services
I
combined.
believe the language in the agreement is pertaining to the community as a whole.
Pertaining to the, yes, that is correct. If we're looking at it in encompass in terms of the agreement, right, that the SLA is respect to a service outage within the community as a whole, not as an individual,
The whole
the
community.
whole community.
So if let's say something happens and the whole community goes down, if we don't get out, it's declared an outage, if we don't get out within 24 hours, obviously you get soon to get it repaired, then you would be entitled to actual credit to the entire bulk.
However, if an
Right.
individual resident is suffering or experiencing a particular outage when they call, right, and the customer service obviously verifies that is the issue with the truck roll, and the customer requests, absolutely, we'll go ahead and provide them a credit. I think that's pretty standard across the industry.
Right.
But when you're looking at pertaining to the contract is more generated as Century Village as a whole.
Guys, participating in the ACPA, guarantees, it's still not done within 3 days and all kind of things.
The what, the,
The NCPA, National Cable Code
Yeah.
Association. You wanna talk about that, because I think that's how
what
they're
if the
ranked.
install's not done within?
3 days or what it is? or-
Service calls are typically within 3 days,
Right.
installations within 5.
Right.
And then,
Can
so
you
we,
tell them that?
I mean, we
Because
do,
some other-
I mean, that
This
is
is
what
for
we.
like new residents?
So if somebody new moves in, they call us to schedule their installation, that installation should be done within 5 days. I mean, we're pretty much
Usually, the
doing,
equipment's already there. It sounds to me like an entry on a computer.
no, the equipment isn't there. If you moved out, you would have to return your equipment and then whoever bought your unit.
Are
would
you
move
finding that that's the case?
It, when
Okay.
were they credit to the
My
kids?
point is though, that the cable industry, to avoid being re-regulated a few years ago, came up with their own standards. And the association, National Cable Code Association, basically wrote the guidelines that said if you don't get installed in 5 days, you're entitled to $20 or $40, I forget.
I would have to take a look.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's.
So in other words, that's another thing that we need to inform people. I don't know of any cable operator that knows proactively that you're without service for 2 or 3 hours or 2 days. You physically have to call. I don't know that there's anything that exists. So it'd be great if they could do it, but I don't know of any protocol, any systems
What if
40
it's
years
a
in the industry.
telephone that's out?
Well, but it's something you have to call.
But you have to report, that that service is
Yeah,
out.
fortunately, I don't know of any other
Fortunately, use your
way.
neighbors.
All right.
Or we could walk to the store.
Or,
Yeah, we get a lot of people that disconnect their equipment, like might unplug their modem for whatever reason, they're
Big
going out of town or
mistake.
something. there's
Yes.
no way we can Just dispatch a tech out there.
Big mistake.
Mhm.
Yes, Ed?
Richard, you have read that contract better than anybody, and I think we should note your exceptions, and I think the fact that we signed a contract that product could be taken away and no remuneration and it doesn't have to be replaced is a deficient review of the contract, whoever did it. So we should note that that shouldn't be in the next contract.
Well,
I
next
don't
year
know of
it
any,
comes up
I
for a
don't
talk.
know, we work nationwide, we've done business in 46 states. I've actually run cable systems overseas as well.
We had,
Nobody, no cable company is gonna sign that, because what these programs, they've gotten so abusive. You know,
Because-
ESPN costs like $9 a month, I don't know what the exact number is for you guys, but it is, they gotta have something to push back on, because if not, your cable bill wouldn't be the $30-some that it is.
Right.
Because it's just impossible. In the local TV station, that's something else. They're charging more than ESPN, they're because they have the power. So that's why you see some engagement between the broadcasters and the cable companies or the satellite company. It's impossible to do.
Leo, you know who we had.
Yeah, I know who you
We
had.
had
They
the
took
queen of cable negotiation, Shell Connick,
No, she-
supposedly
Yes, you did.
worked through that
But
contract.
I hate to bring this up, but Comcast took a whole bunch of stuff at channels
Yeah.
for you guys.
Yes.
American Movie Classics, Turner Classic Movies. I mean, we can rattle off.
You had the Cinemax and Stars was pulled
Yeah.
from their premium channel lineup. That was
Yes.
giving you all the premiums included.
Yeah.
And they pulled almost all of them now.
Yes. So it is something that is a problem. Someday Congress is going to have to step in because it's still out of hand.
AT&T still out the NFL Network, not including the DirecTV aspect where they got the Sunday ticket, but the NFL Network they pulled.
Dish Network doesn't have the Fox station in South Florida, for instance. So they don't have it in lineup because, Fox wanted a lot of money. They said, we're not going to pay it. So it's a great idea, and they are reasonable. They're easy to talk to. Comcast is basically more difficult. So, and they haven't taken that many channels off over the years.
But we've been able to absorb pretty much the majority of the hits that we've had some pretty big hits this past year. Like Leo mentioned, Disney, who owns ESPN, have increased. I believe it was about 200% of what we were paying,
Yeah.
which we did not pass along to our customers, our subscribers. The other big one this past year was Univision. Univision was a big hit on us.
And that's a
I
bad channel.
get no end of amusement out of the array of channels on the system. I particularly view with repugnance the Ghost channel.
Heard of that.
Yes, you can go, they find gloomy looking houses and there's a claim that there are ghosts everywhere.
Was that like the
So
ghost
here-
hunters or
Huh?
something?
Do an episode here.
Yeah. Ken,
Spots to show.
Now, what's the status of Stars? Is it still available?
It's still, we're in discussion, but sorry, it's still in play.
Because every time I log into Stars, I have to sign in again. Even if I turn it off for 5 minutes and I go back to it, I gotta sign in again.
Are you talking about their app?
Yes.
Okay, that would be, it should be able to maintain the credentials. I don't understand why Stars, we don't run their application, so if it's needing to reestablish the credentials, that's something that's going on with the Stars app.
And what about,
it's-
what about HBO Max? Since you guys don't have it on your lineup,
You do
it's
have-
only through the app.
Correct.
Yeah, it's only through the app.
So people are telling me they're having the same situation where it doesn't recognize the credentials, or they have to keep on signing in. I don't have that issue, but somebody told me this morning that they have that issue.
The only thing that I had found when because I did look into it after our last meeting, was there were some based on if they were using their Atlantic BB.
I'm still using my Atlantic BB and there's no problem.
Yeah, and then some that are switching to Breezeline, or
Right.
there were some, but.
Is that up to them, or is it up to you guys to
No,
switch?
they don't have to switch, so it was a seamless, that's why you can still use your Atlantic BB email address, but I think in some instances, they are trying to use their new Breeze Line one, and that may cause where now it doesn't recognize, and if they call, then they have to just reset their credentials.
And once they did it one time and
Yeah.
re-authenticated, then they wouldn't have to do that over again.
Doc?
I was just gonna say from what Leo and, what's your name again?
John.
Leo and John said is Breeze Line can sign a 10-year contract with us, but they cannot sign a 10-year contract with their suppliers.
No.
And that's why they have the if any clause in there.
Of course.
It's gotta be.
What control do they have if some provider or other pulls their content? What
And
are
I
they gonna do
also
about it?
would say that, I might complain a lot, but I look in the paper and I see the rates outside Century Village. Not only are they even the teaser rates for the first year more than what we pay, but after that
This is
first
what this
year,
committee did?
whoosh, it's into the stratosphere.
Even if you look at Breeze Line's retail,
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't want to be a retail customer of you guys.
And I don't really understand the complaint about Major League Baseball. Just as an experiment, I sat in my lovely chair and scrolled up through the first 100 channels and found at least 8 baseball channels, 3 of them Major League. So, you could baseball yourself to death, right?
And that's what people do.
Yeah.
How about football? That's.
Oh, no,
more
and
than
plenty of football. More than
Everything's
baseball.
going to Amazon anyway.
Yeah.
Ruth.
Yes.
Hey,
She's been patiently waiting.
I don't know if I'm the only one in the village that watches YouTube, but I like to watch some of the movies. Some are awful, some of the acting. is
YouTube
awful.
on your computer.
No, I'm talking
There's
about
a
my
YouTube channel
television.
on it.
There's a YouTube app on
My
the TiVo.
YouTube 878 is the channel.
What about TikTok? You look at any of that?
Who?
What about
TikTok.
Alfred Hitchcock,
Yeah.
whatever one you want, starts in the middle, so you get maybe 10, 20 minutes. Why is that?
That's all controlled by YouTube. We have no
Is it?
control over
Okay.
that content.
Number 2, watching a movie almost to the end, 10, 15 minutes, no sound. I don't know what happened.
On
with it.
YouTube?
It's a
This is
delivery
only-
on the YouTube.
This is only YouTube.
Yeah.
And other oh, my favorite, but I learned to do it. I told Otter about this. Apparently he didn't know the answer, so he never got back to me.
Ira.
Mine?
wait a second, you're
Yeah,
throwing under the bus, Ruth.
I'll remind you. Twice, after watching YouTube, that's the last thing I watch at night, turn off the TV. TV would go on during the night, it would go on during the day.
It's
when
part
I
of that
wasn't-
Ghost Hunters
When
channel.
I wasn't home, if I
Hitchcock.
come home
Yeah,
and the
back
TV
idea.
is on, I'm scared to death, who got in that? I
It's a smart TV.
I discovered that when I finish with YouTube, at the end of the night when I'm gonna turn off everything, I switch to another channel, whatever it is, and I turn it off on that channel. It hasn't happened since. But I dare not shut it off after YouTube, or I'll get up in the morning and the living room is lit up because my TV is on.
Oh my goodness.
Oh,
I mean, we don't have the
Yeah,
ability to
Hitchcock
control
has
the
something to do with
TV
that.
power on. So I don't know what that would be.
You know, someone suggested, and he's not here now, one of our vice presidents, I overheard them talking about this. He said that if I don't have a new smart TV, which YouTube is programmed into it, I don't know what that means. I don't. My TV is wonderful. It has beautiful picture, everything except for YouTube. But it's because it's an older set that happens with
But
YouTube.
Are you turning it off, or is it going like, or does it go into sleep mode, like if you fall asleep or something?
No,
No?
when I'm finished watching at night, I shut it off with
Okay.
my remote. Done.
Some TiVo box?
From the remote.
On the
Yeah,
TV.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
So
did.
hit live TV and then shut it off.
Yes.
Hit live TV.
Yes.
Oh,
Right.
Live
Right, because
TV.
you're not on live TV when you're on YouTube. So you go to live TV, it takes you back to the guide, then you turn it off. And what the person was talking about for your TV, this is your own information. Some of the new TVs, when you buy them, the YouTube programming is automatically downloaded as part of the
That's
software
what-
for the
exactly.
television, like Amazon Prime or Netflix or Hulu.
Exactly
It's on
what
the
they said,
television.
that's what they
And if
said.
that was the case, then you could, that gives you the ability to watch it two ways. You can watch it through, through the remote that you have, through that app is one way, but then you can actually stream it through the television, the app on the TV.
I just wanted to make
Any
one
of that
comment.
good
We're more than
stuff.
happy to see and answer any additional questions, however, the tech team needs to head out to another.
Okay.
All right, are any other
Thank you
questions?
very much, so you've done a phenomenal job.
Thank you. Whatever
Good
you
job.
need, Ira is our main contact, also the girls at the store. Let me get your information so I can send a technician out today.
Get
The
your articles
communication is
into
gonna,
me.
absolutely gonna be here.
Folks, do we have any other issues? Or should we take this as a blessed opportunity to adjourn?
When do we meet again?
3 months,
I think
September.
it's quarterly, yeah.
September.
Sounds right.
That'll give me enough time to compile some more data.
If somebody goes to the store with an issue about equipment, and they request equipment to take back to their apartment, you guys do that, or do you always send a technician?
We don't do TiVos, because if you just connect the main TiVo, it's hard, it's just easier for us to roll it out.
DTAs you do?
A DTA, a modem,
My wife
and
is
a
home all the time,
remote.
but
You say you cannot turn in your equipment at the
for a
store?
while.
No, you can turn it in, but if you want to
it's
get
the
a
second
TiVo box,
TiVo box
a
that
main
we
box,
have in the
you'd
bedroom.
rather just come out.
Did we adjourn?
Okay.
The HDMI is good.
We're adjourned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, did you-